ESPN NFL draft analyst Mel Kiper Jr. has officially released his final NFL mock draft of the 2025 draft season. And today on the Commanders Report, I will be reacting to his two-round Commanders mock draft, where he has the Commanders taking two pretty polarizing players in his mock here. I'll be giving my in-depth scouting reports on both players, and I'll be giving my take on if the Commanders end up taking these two players in the 2025 NFL Draft. Before we get into the reaction today, before we get into the scouting reports and the analysis, make sure you guys click that subscribe button, because this is why you click that subscribe button, for in-depth Commanders coverage every single day without a paywall. With ESPN Plus, which is what you'll need to purchase from ESPN in order to see this two-round mock draft from Mel Kiper Jr., you'll have to pay over $120 a year, and that's $120 if you just pay up front. It's actually more than that if you pay for ESPN Plus on a monthly basis. But here at the Commanders Report, guys, it's absolutely free. So we're giving you the same exact content plus extra analysis today, 100% free. We're also less than 100 subscribers away from 39,000 here at the Commanders Report. We've been growing like crazy over the last 2 years or so. It's all thanks to your guys' support. So if you guys want to join a place here where you guys can get premium Commanders coverage 100% free every single day, click that subscribe button and join our family today. So with the first pick in Mel Kiper Jr.'s two-round Commanders mock draft at number 29 overall, he has the Commanders taking Shemar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M. Now, Stewart has been somebody that has been linked to the Commanders quite frequently in mock drafts and in draft rumors all throughout the draft season. And this is what the godfather of the NFL draft had to say about Stewart to Washington. Stewart has all the talent in the world, speed, explosiveness, and power, but he also had 4.5 sacks over three seasons. If an NFL coaching staff can help him put it all together, the upside is immense. I'm betting on Commanders coach Dan Quinn unlocking that potential. Dante Fowler Jr.'s departure in free agency means there's a hole opposite Dorrance Armstrong on the defensive line. Now, my take on this entire situation here, guys, is that I understand why Shemar Stewart is linked to the Washington Commanders, and I understand why they would potentially make this pick. But personally, I would rather trade down from number 29 and get an additional day 2 pick as opposed to taking Shemar Stewart with the 29th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. And the reason for that, guys, we'll talk about the cons coming up, but this guy, there's no question about it, man. He is an absolute athletic freak, a perfect 10 out of 10 relative athletic score that is extremely rare. He ran a 4.5 at his size. He actually cut weight to 267. He played at like 285 his final season with the Aggies, and he's got extremely explosiveness numbers there with the vertical and broad jump as well. So this guy is an absolute freak of nature, which is why he is getting projected as a potential top 25 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft to multiple different teams, including to the Washington Commanders. Now, my scouting report here, guys, is that you see all the things that you see on his combine workout, on film. He's an extremely explosive athlete. He's got some really nice arm length, too, which is certainly something in his favor at 34 and 3/8 inches. You also got the run defense is really good, and it provides him a nice floor, all right? He's going to be a pretty decent player at the NFL level just because of the ability to defend the run. Of course, we know how important that is for the Washington Commanders, and then he also plays with some really good play strength, at least when he was playing at that 285 pound weight that he was with the Aggies last year. But the cons, all right, and this is where, the concerns really start to show up. A big-time lack of production, only 4.5 sacks over 3 seasons in college football. And the reason for that, guys, is he really does rely on the bull rush. And even that bull rush, that ability to win with power, is underwhelming, which is why, you look at his production and it's just so underwhelming. He doesn't win with speed or bend around the edge. He doesn't win with different pass rushing moves. He doesn't really have a plan out there. He kind of just goes out there and just tries to push the person trying to block him, tries to run him over, and that's kind of his plan as a pass rusher at this point in his football journey. And of course, that all led to a lack of production. So he's a good run defender, plays with great technique. Of course, he plays with great play strength. He can be an impact player against the run, which provides him that floor. But if you're taking an edge rusher in round 1, you really want to make sure that guy is going to be able to to at least have the upside to be a true number one pass rusher in the National Football League, and Stewart is still a long ways from getting there, at least in my opinion. So I have a late round 1 / round 2 grade on Stewart. He's probably going to end up going in the first round at some point just because of all the crazy physical gifts that he possesses, and somebody's going to take a chance on that upside. But if I'm the Washington Commanders, I probably wouldn't want to take that risk. And, another thing when it comes to Stewart is that he cut a lot of weight this spring, all right, to get ready for the NFL draft. He played at like 285 last year at Texas A&M, and now he's down to like 265, all right? And for somebody that really relies on his play strength and really relies on his power, especially in terms of his pass rushing sets, it worries me a little bit that he cut weight, which means that he could lose some play strength there, which makes his bull rush even less effective. So the big question when it comes to Shemar Stewart heading into the National Football League is, will that play strength hold up if he does play at his new weight at 265 pounds? And, we just don't know the answer to that question, which makes him a complete and utter projection at this point, at least in terms of what he is as a pass rusher. And, it kind of reminds me of this. If he's a good pass rusher, why doesn't he rush good? That's kind of the feeling that you get when you watch Shemar Stewart on tape, where he's just not very productive. He's not winning his pass rush sets all that often. And yeah, the athleticism is there. Yeah, the upside is there. And yeah, the floor is there as well with his ability to defend the run. But if you're drafting him to be your number one edge rusher and true number one pass rusher to get after opposing quarterbacks, I just don't know if that's going to be there, especially on day one, or if it's ever going to develop, despite the athletic tools that he brings to the table. Now, what I think, guys, and what Washington needs is that they need an immediate impact rusher, all right? And I think that Shemar Stewart is kind of the exact opposite of what the Washington Commanders should be considering right now, because they already have early down guys that can stop the run. Dorrance Armstrong and Clelin Ferrell are two guys that do a really good job setting the edge. They're bigger edge rushers, and those guys are limited in terms of what they bring you as pass rushers. What the Commanders need is somebody that can get after quarterbacks. And, Shemar Stewart, as we've talked about, that's his issue. All right, and I think that I would rather take somebody that's more of a pass rushing specialist that comes in on third downs, kind of like Dante Fowler Jr. was for this team last year, and say round 3 or round 4, than I would drafting Shemar Stewart, who's kind of a similar profile to guys like Clelin Ferrell and Dorrance Armstrong, at least at this point in his development. So for me personally, I do not like this pick from Mel Kiper Jr., and if all the top other edge rushers are taken in the first round, James Pierce Jr., Mike Green, Mykel Williams, if those guys are off the board, personally, if I'm the Commanders, I'm either drafting another position or I'm trading down from my pick at number 29 to get more draft picks on day 2 of the NFL draft instead of taking Shemar Stewart. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Will you be happy if Washington takes Shemar Stewart at number 29? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. This will be the pin combo of today's show. The pin question, yes or no, will you be happy if Washington takes Shemar Stewart at number 29? In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Game Time. And while I'm talking about Game Time, go down there in the comment section and answer today's pin question with a yes or a no. And with that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time. And recently, producer Joey and myself took in a Texas Rangers game a couple of weekends ago when the Rangers beat the Red Sox in Arlington at Globe Life Park. And thanks to Game Time, we were able to save money on tickets so we could splurge a bit more at the game itself. We got a bunch of food. We got some merchandise. We went to Texas Live afterwards and listened to some live music. It was a really, really fun time. And it's all thanks to our sponsor today, Game Time, which is the official ticketing partner of the Commanders Report by Chat Sports, and makes getting tickets to every event that I go to faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Go watch the Washington Nationals play this season at beautiful Nationals Park all summer long to take in the beauty of the game while not breaking the bank on great seats with our friends at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ChatSports. It's one word, all caps, ChatSports, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ChatSports. That's one word, all caps, ChatSports. That's ChatSports for $20 off that first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So Mel Kiper Jr. has the Commanders taking another developmental type prospect here, this time at cornerback with Iowa State's Darien Porter. Now, Porter is a very, very special physical specimen, as we'll talk about here in just a second, but it is another developmental prospect for a team here in Washington that is trying to win now. This is what Mel Kiper Jr. had to say about this pick. The Commanders added Jonathan Jones and Noah Igbenogany to replace Benjamin St-Juste and Emmanuel Forbes Jr., who was cut last season. But Porter could develop into a starter. I'm intrigued by Porter as a day 2 pick because there's a lot of untapped potential. He's a former receiver who is still learning the nuances of the cornerback position. He has 4.3 40 speed, plenty of length, and the ball skills to create takeaways. Porter picked off 3 passes last season. Now, I like this pick a little bit more than I like the Shemar Stewart pick here, guys, because I think that cornerback is more of a position where the Commanders can get somebody that's a little bit more developmental than edge rusher. Because right now, without a Trey Hendrickson trade, without a true number 1 edge rusher to get after opposing quarterbacks as a true pass rushing threat, I don't think it makes sense to get another guy that doesn't really have a lot of pass rushing upside, at least not in year 1. But here at corner, I think that Darien Porter is somebody that brings a very special physical profile to the table, just like Shemar Stewart does, as you guys can see here with his relative athletic scoring. Almost a perfect 10 out of 10 himself at his size, which is a really good size, by the way, here, guys. Almost 200 pounds at his height. He ran a 4.3, so this guy is absolutely blazing. He's also got really great foot speed and oily hips. He can move with ease. It's one of the reasons why he was one of the more dominant press man corners in college football last year, and it's the reason why that his name gets connected to the Commanders a ton, because this is a coaching staff here in Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. that really cherishes physical traits like Darien Porter's in the NFL draft process. You can take a look at my scouting report on Darien Porter. He's got really good ball skills, guys, because he's a former wide receiver. So really rare ball skills for the cornerback position, which of course leads to turnover and interception upside for him. He also has great long speed, like we talked about, straight 4.3 speed, one of the fastest guys in the entire draft class. He also has great arm length for the position at 33 and an 1/8 inch arms. And then he just has great overall athleticism. Like I said, oily hips, quick feet. He could change directions very easily for a guy his size. Now the cons. He is someone that is still developing because he had to switch positions midway through his college career from wide receiver to corner. So he hasn't really spent a lot of time at the position, and because of that, he is still developing. And then as a developing player, being 24 years old is not exactly ideal. If you're having somebody that's still in a developmental stage of their career, you'd rather have them be 21 or 22 or somebody younger. 24 is a bit old for a player that is still technically developmental at this point in their football journey. He's also an inconsistent tackler despite his arm length, which is not what you want to see. He is a little bit scheme dependent, in my opinion. He played pretty much exclusively press man at Iowa State. Now, that's okay for the Commanders because they play a lot of press man, or at least they want to here in Washington. So that's not as big of a concern if you're a Commanders fan. But for other defenses that like to mix in zone, off coverage, that type of stuff, he doesn't have a lot of experience in those kind of departments. And then he does have limited college playing time. He was never a 3-down starter at Iowa State, which is a little bit concerning if you ask me. I do have a top 50 grade on him because he is somebody that just has special traits at the position, and he's got the physical attributes to be a potential number 1 shutdown corner in this league one day. And, you know, I think that this coaching staff would embrace that. I think that this coaching staff here with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., they were able to develop Trayvon Diggs, who was kind of raw coming out of college, into one of the best interception artists in the league. They did the same thing with Deron Bland a couple seasons ago in Dallas. And I think that Porter is exactly the physical profile that they're looking for in a future number 1 corner. They did bring in Jonathan Jones as a stopgap at outside corner. Here he can also play in the slot. Mike Samerstill can also play outside or in the slot. We'll see how they kind of divvy out that production this year and that alignment. But then Marshawn Lattimore is also a big question mark because he kind of struggled last year. Now, he did deal with injuries, and the Commanders really still do believe in Lattimore, but he's not getting any younger either. So getting a guy like Porter is certainly somebody, is adding somebody here that doesn't have to play right away. You do have Jonathan Jones in the building. You do have Mike Samerstill. You do do have Marshawn Lattimore, so he can sit on the bench and he can develop a little bit more, but he's got the physical tools to potentially become the number one shutdown corner that Dan Quinn and Jowett Jr. defenses have been able to develop over the last several seasons. So you take a look here and we recap the Kiper mock today. Shemar Stewart, the edge rusher in round 1, and then Darien Porter in round 2. Like I said, I like the Porter pick better than the Stewart pick, but the thing that I don't like in general about this Kiper mock here is that the Commanders are a win-now football team. They're trying to win a Super Bowl next year, all right, and they're trying to win the NFC East over a Super Bowl champion, a reigning Super Bowl champion in the Philadelphia Eagles next year, and the two guys you're drafting are players that aren't going to be able to hit their upside in year 1 or at least even get close to it. Porter's going to have to sit on the bench his rookie season, and then Stewart is probably not going to give you the pass rushing ability that your team really does need. So I don't love this mock draft from Mel Kiper Jr., but let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Grade Kiper's 2-round mock draft for the Washington Commanders. A lot of upside here, guys. Shemar Stewart and Darien Porter could both be potential superstar players, but they are both developmental guys. So let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. For a win-now team, 2 developmental picks, A, B, C, D, or F. For me personally, I'm going to give it a B- because, the Commanders are still trying to build while they still try to compete. So you can make an argument for why these 2 picks make sense, especially if they eventually become what they're capable of down the line. But there's also a lot of risk involved with these 2 picks, and they don't really provide a whole lot of immediate help on the defensive side of the ball, something that this team desperately needs if they want to compete and truly compete with the best teams in the NFC, like the Rams and the Eagles and other teams that could be emerging, like the Chicago Bears, Green Bay Packers, others in this division here or in this conference that they're going to have to deal with. So I don't love the picks. I would probably have rather traded down instead of taking Shemar Stewart, but at the end of the day, adding talented players is talented players at positions of need, so I'll give it a B-. That'll be it for my reaction here of Mel Kiper Jr.'s 2-round Commanders mock draft. I got my own Commanders mock draft, 7 rounds coming out later this week. I really do appreciate all of your guys' support. I will see you guys tomorrow with more free Commanders coverage. So until then, guys, go raise some hell.